Hello, and welcome to Steve's Mixtapes. Hello, my guest this week is the resident psych-rock columnist for both the Quietus and Record Collector, and you might also have seen some of his writings in The Wire or The Guardian. He's also written a couple of very, very good books. His latest one is called Off the Ground, Paul McCartney in the 1990s. And his first one, which is a book I devoured with great delight, is called Electric Wizards, A Tapestry of Heavy Music, 1968 to the Present. And I say that not just because I was pleasantly startled to see my name appear on page 50 when I read it, which was great. So my guest this week is J.R. Moores. Hello, John. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Apart from, as I have warned you already, I do have a bit of a cold, so I have to do some editing out of me blowing my nose. But apart from that, I'm grand. It's Saturday night. You have a glass of red. I have a glass of beer here. A big shout out for Vocation Brewery of Hebden Bridge, my favourite brewery. I haven't ever had any of their beers, but they're very good. And if you're listening, Vocation Brewery, you can put the check in the post. That's great. Just before we start, I want to give a shout out to my sister-in-law, Amber, who very kindly bought me a brand new microphone, which I'm recording with for the first time. I know it is a habit of a Sunday morning to listen to me over her morning coffee. So good morning, Amber. I hope you enjoy John's choices. One thing we can do before we start on the playlist, John, is you can settle a little discussion that I had with Ian Forth of Sombrero Fallout. I don't know if you've ever listened to the Sombrero Fallout podcast. He mentioned something written in the Quietus, but he pronounces it the Quietus. I've always presumed it was the Quietus.
Yes. I mean, I'm not the authority to really talk about this because I write for them regularly, but I'm not, on the editorial team or anything. But was it John or Luke that came up with the name? I don't know, but I think it might be Quietus.
Oh, okay.
I think it's Latin or something like that.
Okay.
And I think there's maybe, I don't even know what the word means.
No, neither do I.
But so very well educated people have gone to nice schools and have done Latin as part of their studies. They will say Quietus, I believe. But most people, including those that run the Quietus, well, just call it the Quietus.
I am hoping to get John on. He did say he would be happy to do it, but he's in the middle of finishing off a book at the moment, I believe. So I'm going to email him next month to get him on, so he can settle it once.
Oh, he'll be great. Yeah.
No, I think he'll make for a really good guest, and a very I can't even imagine what his choices would be, but I pretty much guarantee there'll be an interesting set of music.
Eastern European pagan metal or something.
Yes, I would think so. One thing I ask all guests, sort of to start off with, is have you always been a lover of mixes and playlists? Is there a box of old C90s up in your loft?
There's a few cassettes down near where I'm sitting, actually, the ones that I've got left gathering dust. I used to spend hours making mixtapes and things, just for myself or for my friends or for girlfriends or whatever.
Yes, well, it used to be a standard part of the courtship ritual, did it not?
I spent far too long doing that. Well, maybe it was a good time well spent considering I now write about music, but
okay.
There's an art to it, isn't there? An art to a mixtape.
There definitely is, and I think I've been really lucky so far. So you are the fifth interview I've done so far. The four I've had before have been very, very different mixes, but all extremely enjoyable. I have to say, and this was no surprise to me, so from the sort of online conversations we've had about music over the past few years, it doesn't surprise me to find that of all the mixes I've had so far, yours had the most songs and artists that I already knew and liked. I've had a very, very pleasant time listening to your mix.
I was just thinking about it just now that I forgot to put anything by the Fall on, which is
that's fine. No,
faux pas.
More than happy with your choices. I think I discussed when I had my friend Eric on, a couple of episodes ago that he and I do have a Venn diagram intersection, but it's quite a slender one. I think you and I have a pretty chunky Venn diagram intersection of music, hence me enjoying this mix so much. So let's talk about your "Hit the Ground Running" song. It's an artist who have an interesting bit of punctuation in their name, and I looked them up and was quite disappointed to find actually the real reason for this is not anything deeply philosophical or mystical. It's because when they were putting together the letter set on their first sleeve, they misaligned the name to the left and had to stick something else in to make it sort of
Yeah.
centralized. So we are talking about Therapy. The album is Trouble Gum, an album that I do own and enjoyed a great deal. If you don't know the song that John's chosen, you'll know the one that comes after it, I would imagine, because it's the only track of the album, and it's followed by Screamager. But you've gone for Knives, an
Yeah.
excellent choice, I would say. Why this one?
Um, well, because your category that you gave me was "Hit the Ground Running," and this track does do that. I still love Therapy. I love this album. The whole album's brilliant. Trouble Gum. It's banger after pop metal banger, isn't it? And this is the opening track, and it's one that certainly grabs the listener's attention from the off.
It grabs you by the throat straight away,
Yeah,
doesn't it? Yeah.
yeah,
I listened to the album. I hadn't actually listened to the album in quite a long time, and I was pleasantly surprised just how good it is, and it's pretty consistently good all the way through, isn't it?
yeah. It's amazing. If not the best album of the '90s, then it's the best album of 1994, and no Dogman Star or definitely maybe is going to change that fact.
Yeah, yes. Well, I've just, funnily enough, there's been quite a lot of Oasis in the bit of your book I've just been reading. Yeah, I do share your views on that. But let's not dive
I don't
into.
mind. Definitely, maybe it's all right.
There's three or four very good Oasis songs, I would say.
Yeah,
I quite like Half the World Away. I have quite fond memories of that because I enjoyed the Royal Family when it came out. There's a few good B-sides.
yeah.
Acquiesce is a decent song. Round Our Way is a decent song, but some of it is just so turgid and plodding and
Peaked
uh,
early, didn't they?
yeah. And I
Um,
have with the comeback, I have a lot of work colleagues who are very excited about going to see them. Um,
yeah.
and presume that I will be excited about the notion as well because you like music, don't you? See, you like Oasis. But
Well,
there we go.
there's gonna be a lot of people who didn't get to see them the first time round, who are going to realise or going to see just how boring Oasis were live.
Well,
Um,
did you see that clip that was circulating online of Liam singing, and it was some boxing event or something like that, and he did a little medley of Oasis songs, and he has lost that entire sort of top third of his register, and just basically can't do it anymore. But anyway, enough about Oasis. We're here to
yeah.
talk about good music, so let's hear your "Hit the Ground Running" song. This is "Knives" by Therapy.
My girlfriend says that I need help. My boyfriend says I'd be better off dead. I'm gonna get drunk. Come round and fuck you up. I'm gonna get drunk. Come round and fuck you up. And you can't help my life. But you can't hide the knives. My girlfriend says that I'm confused. My boyfriend says
From, in the words of my guest editor, J.R. Moore's, the best album of 1994, that was Therapy with Knives from the album Troublegum. And if you don't know Troublegum, then go and acquire it and listen to it. It is indeed very, very good. Now, your Something Old choice is right up my street as well. And I have to say, I always think whenever I stick this band on, or whenever they crop up on a sort of shuffle playlist, it always occurs to me that they're probably the most aptly named band ever.
Yeah.
Funkadelic. I mean, that is just what they sound like, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. So I went for Super Stupid. I was going to go for Maggot Brain, which is, as you know, a 10-minute long guitar solo, basically, and contender for the greatest guitar solo
Absolutely.
of all time. But then I thought, no, I'll go. It's the same album. Super Stupid's on later on Maggot Brain, and it's just I just wanted it on there because there's a bit in my book that you mentioned, Electric Wizards. There's a chapter on funk in that book, which some people seemed surprised to find in a history of heavy music, and
Funkadelic were properly heavy when they chose to be.
Yeah. So I've picked one of their heavier numbers. It's a kind of in sort of Jimi Hendrix territory, I suppose. So I in fact, I had to sort of fight to have that chapter in it, really, a little bit. I mean, fight's putting it strongly, but there were conversations with my editor about whether it would appropriate or whether readers would want it in there and that kind of thing. And it's like, well,
okay.
I didn't want a book where it's just like here's 4 white guys playing rock and then here's 4 more white guys playing rock. And, funk can be really heavy. Funkadelic are really heavy. Betty Davis is really heavy. There's other examples in there. I draw comparisons to like the working methods or philosophies as well between certain heavy music makers and George Clinton.
I was going to say it's not funk, but I would argue that Miles Davis can be very heavy when he puts his mind to it.
Oh yeah. And the other thing was that I interview heavy music makers quite often as part of my job, and you can absolutely guarantee that most of them have a fair amount of Funkadelic albums in their collection. Sometimes I can see them behind the person I'm interviewing.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
Whatever, in the corner of their room, whatever. And so it's like, they've obviously influenced loads of people that play kind of mad, far out, riffy, psychedelic, crazy stuff. So I'm glad that chapter's in there, even though some people are a bit like, why am I reading?
Anyway, so let's get to some Funkadelic. This is Super Stupid. from the quite amazing 1971 album Maggot Brain. That was Funkadelic with Super Stupid. And you mentioned Maggot Brain, the song. There is an absolutely fabulous cover of that by a band that you have chosen later on in the list. But we'll come back to that. Come back to that later on. Okay, now for your something new. I didn't realise this band had something new out, so I went and bought this off Bandcamp, and there will be a link on the webpage for this mix. I would encourage you to do the same. In fact, by the time this comes out, it may be that the album is out, because, well, it will be close to coming out. I think the album comes out in early April. The album's called Death Hilarious. The song is called Stitches, and the artist is Pigs. Have I got the right number of pigs there? There's 7 of them anyway.
I stopped counting, but yeah, there's 7.
we'll just call them 7 pigs. I would tend to. Yeah, so a proper heavy band from my my area of origin. I'm actually, you wouldn't know from the accent because I've travelled around a lot, but I'm from the northeast originally, and therefore up that neck of the woods. I don't know exactly. Are they Newcastle?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's quite a heavy. It's quite a big. For a few years, there's been quite a big heavy scene in like sort of noise rock scene in Newcastle, hasn't there?
Yeah, there's always been loads of interesting stuff going on in Newcastle, but not necessarily stuff that a lot of people know about. I think it's got its nice little cozy scene, and it's got people within the scene who are happy sort of playing within that scene and don't necessarily try to break out or go over to Manchester or anything. But Pigs have broken out. It's nice, and it's surprising in a way, because I think back to their first album and it had 3 songs on it, 2 of which were about 20 minutes long. Yeah. And I suppose they're poppier in terms of the song length anyway these days.
Well, poppier, yes. I mean, you wouldn't describe. I mean, it doesn't sound like Taylor Swift, does it? But,
no, they're pretty.
It's very tight, isn't it? It's very taut and focused, I would say. But they haven't lost any of the heaviness to it.
No, and so Stitches is a song from their forthcoming record or their new record, depending on when this goes out. And it was described in the press release as like Motorhead trying to perform glam rock with a tipsy keyboardist, which I thought was very amusing because I wrote that press release. So obviously I thought that was good.
If that description doesn't make you want to listen to it, then you know what will. Let's see if you agree with John's description. This is Pigs ×7 with Stitches.
Don't have to do it, but you wanted to.
Stitches by Pigs, 7 of them anyway, from the forthcoming, I think it'll probably be forthcoming when this comes out, album Death Hilarious, available on Bandcamp. As I say, there'll be a link on the webpage. Please go and buy it. Support your contemporary artists. Right, now there's an interesting link here with your Something Borrowed one, because I had, as I mentioned earlier, Ian Forth from the excellent Sombrero Fallout podcast on a few weeks ago, and he, for his Something Borrowed, chose a cover of There Is a Light That Never Goes Out by the Dum Dum Girls. He mentioned in his sort of, when he was talking about the song, that there were a number of interesting versions of this song, and he specifically mentioned the one that you have chosen. So the one that Ian actually went for, sort of riot girled it up, stuck a load of thrashy guitars on it and a bit of attitude, and is jolly nice. This one sort of deconstructs it and makes it all glitchy. So do you want to tell us about this choice?
Yeah, I haven't heard that one that you're talking about there, the Dum Dum Girls one, but
if you imagine a Riot Girl band playing it, then you're pretty much 90% of the way there, I would say.
This is probably my favourite cover song of all time, I think. I will have heard it first on John Peel. It's from a sort of EP, which I then bought on CD, and I don't actually know that much about Schneider TM or KPT Michigan, but I had to own this track, and for a while I would just like program my CD player to play this song on repeat, and I would just listen to it over and over again because I thought it was so brilliant. I mean, I was never a huge Smiths fan in the first place, so I didn't really have that much. I mean, the original is magnificent. It is a fantastic song. Yeah. I didn't have that much of an emotional connection to the original, I suppose. It's a good way of describing it, deconstructing it, I suppose. So as you say, it's glitchy and it's electronic. There's something about it, the kind of synthetic nature of it makes it more human than it is in the first place, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. And the vocal is it's dispassionate and almost flat. I don't mean flat as in musical notation. I mean, flat, almost atonal, almost emotionless, but actually somehow that makes it quite moving in a way. I think we're both sort of clumsily grasping towards the same point here. But it is very, very good. And it's a rewarding one to listen to on headphones.
Absolutely, yeah. There's loads of
all sorts of stuff going
details in there that are sort of working separately, but all clicking together somehow. It's brilliant.
grip me and I just could not. Take me out tonight. Take me anywhere, I don't care. Just driving in your car. I never wanna go home because I haven't got one. Oh, I haven't got one. Whenever double-decker bus crashes into us, to die by your side, such a heavenly way to die. And if a 10-ton truck kills the both of us, to die by your side, the pleasure and the privilege is mine. There's a light that never goes out. There's a light that never goes out. There's a light that never goes out.
Schneider TM and KPT Michigan, if I'm saying that correctly, with the Light 3000, their version of the Smiths' There Is a Light That Never Goes Out. And it's from the 2000 album called Binocular, Binocular with a K. So, John, you live in York, which, as we mentioned in our sort of pre-chat before we started recording, is somewhere I lived and know well. I lived there between 87 and 92. When I was there, basically you had to go to Leeds to go to gigs. So I saw many gigs. Leeds Uni, I don't know whether it was Leeds Poly then or it had become Leeds Met or whatever, but various venues, so all sorts of people, Aztec Camera, the Primitives, that's the sort of era we're talking about. I think York has a bit more of a live music scene now, is that right?
Yeah, it's pretty good now. It's got to the point where I now resent having to go to Leeds.
Okay.
Whereas previously I'd be going like all the time. There's a venue called the Crescent, which is excellent, and a promoter called Joe Coates who puts a lot of things on, and a slightly smaller venue called the Fulford Arms, which has a lot of kind of upcoming bands. In fact, there are pictures. That venue's in my book because there's a picture of pigs playing in that venue when they were still playing venues of that small size.
I told you about some of the place I lived in York. I'd missed one out. I used to live not far from the Fulford Arms, actually. Eastwood Avenue, it's called. It's on the way back into town from the Fulford. But Fulford Arms was the closest pub to when we lived there. That was an interesting house, very dodgy landlord. I remember one day he drove a car down the side of the house, parked in our back garden, and we looked out the back door in confusion, and he said, "Don't ask any questions." Yes, that sort of landlord. So yeah, because there were basically no venues there at all. I mean, Fibbers didn't exist when I was there.
Right, because
it was
Fibbers
still a
was pretty
snooker
good.
club that I used to occasionally play snooker in. If it's the place I'm thinking of. So there was nothing. And then when I first went to university there was a train back at about 10 to 2 or something like that, which was great. And then they cut it. So you were constantly at gigs looking at your watch all the time, having to dash to the station. It was a real pain in the backside. I don't really know why I asked about York, because it has no relation whatsoever to the next artist on your list. But the next artist on your list is a sad one in a way. I mean, I don't know whether that's why you've put it in the Something Blue, but a gentleman who appeared very frequently in your Electric Wizards book, obviously, because he is a huge figure in the world of heavy music and of music generally. And I'm talking, of course, about Steve Albini. So so why this song in the blue category? Was it simply because the loss of Mr. Albini?
It might be controversial. Firstly, yes, I have been feeling blue about the death of Steve Albini, who died last year suddenly.
I would have loved to have had him on this.
Yeah, I interviewed him once.
Right.
A bit like this over the internet, and
how was he?
It was probably the best interview I've ever done. It was wonderful. He was. I felt that he was really open, really honest. I felt that he was happy to spend the time with me asking him daft questions about his career. I even got to the point where I could kind of like joke with him a bit, or lightly rib him, and that was going fine. Yeah, and it's such a loss. It's it's a loss not just because of the music he made, but he was so important recording music, obviously, and just kind of and important for like all these. I mean, he could be outspoken and provocative and etc. But the views he had on the music industry and how you should run things and run your own life kind of ethically.
Well, I was really admired the fact that he only ever charged a flat rate for engineering art, didn't he? He didn't take royalties of any description because that wasn't his to take.
Yeah. So if he'd taken royalties for like In Utero by Nirvana, he'd be a lot richer than he was. But he felt like that wasn't the way you should do things. If you have a plumber around that fixes your toilet, you don't have to keep paying him over and over again, while the toilet still works, do you? That's one of the reasons I chose the song, because I'm feeling blue. I also chose it because it is called My Black Ass, and in a way, I was sort of thinking about the blues and it being appropriated by rock musicians like Mick Jagger or whatever. Maybe I should have picked an actual blues song. But the lyrics are to do with sharecropping in America after...
Yeah, it's a lyric about race, isn't it?
Yeah, and African-American baseball players that sort of didn't get a fair shot at their career because of their race. And
there's a reference to Sammy Davis Jr. in there as well, isn't there?
Jr. is in there as well. So it's an interesting song. It's not easy to understand what it's going on about necessarily, but it's got all these references that I thought were interesting anyway, and it rocks.
Okay. Well, let's hear it. This is Shellac. Shellac with My Black Ass from the 1994 album At Acton Park. It did interest me, John, looking through your list. With apart from your something old, something new, where obviously the age of them is defined, and your finale track, which obviously we'll go to later on, all of your choices are in a sort of late 90s, early 2000s window. Was that something deliberate? Is that your golden era? Is that,
maybe it's a golden era thing. Yeah. I did wonder about whether it was a bit too late 90s, early 2000s, but these were the songs that came to me, and
okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're going into the early 2000s, 2002 for the next one. I must confess, I bought this band's first album and played it a lot. I didn't know this album very well at all, actually, so it's gone on my ever-growing list from this podcast, ever-growing list of playlist of things to listen to, because I didn't know this one at all. So in order to take it down, which is the next category, you've gone for the Breeders from their 2002 album Title TK. I also learned that Title TK in publishing means title to come. It was a little learning point for me. So the song you've gone for is Off You. It is very downbeat, very morose almost. Why did you choose this one?
Well, it's my favourite Breeders album for one thing. I know a lot of people like Last Splash, but they're wrong.
I like a man who has certainty in his opinions.
Recorded by Steve Albini, of course. But anyway, Kim Deal, she had a lot of critical acclaim last year. She had a solo album out, but even so, I think that she is vastly underrated as a writer and underappreciated. I saw the Breeders perform last year. They did a few dates before Glastonbury, I think, and I saw them in Leeds, and it was absolutely brilliant. It's probably the best gig that I went to last year, and I was just sort of blown away by like how deceptively clever, is that right? Deceptively simple. I don't know. You know what I mean? Yeah. The songs are a lot cleverer than you perhaps realise at first, because people have them down as kind of alt rock or almost slacker rock or whatever. But there are, compositionally, there are things that happen like once in a song, or the verse is played differently the second time it comes round, or there's all these little details in loads of their songs. And in Off You, for example, there's a synthesizer note quite early on, that bang, and it doesn't come back. That's the one thing that's played on the synth in that whole song. So there's all those little things are brilliant. And Kim Deal said she's a perfectionist, but a perfectionist in like the opposite way of ELO, if that makes sense. So she's a perfectionist.
That sounds very much like a Marquis Smith lyric.
Like a perfectionist about the imperfections or something.
Yeah, I get you.
And Off You is a quiet song. It's very hushed, and it gives me goosebumps. And you kind of can try to figure out what it's about lyrically, but it's not that clear. So you probably never will figure it out, and it just remains, goosebumping and interesting to me to this day.
Silent sun 1,000 times. I'm on it, but I'm going strange. Silence chills and shall cover me. Wind-wetted rock and skies I've yet to see. I tried, I even sent in friends. They did
favor, 'cause I'm not that way. I am the autumn and the scarlet. I am the makeup on your eyes. I land a sail, island sail. Yeah, we're moving. Yeah, we're moving. Silent sun I've laid 1,000 times. Fortune me, fortune me. Of all of my mistakes, I think I let you late. Now every slipper scent seemed to come my way, but I've never seen a starlet or a riot or the violence of you. I am the autumn and the scarlet. I am the makeup on your eyes. I land a sail, island sail. Yeah, we're moving. Yeah, we're moving. I land a sail, island sail. Yeah, we're moving. Yeah, we're moving. Yeah, we're moving.
John Moore's Take It Down track, that was The Breeders with Off You from Title TK, which was released in 2002 and has gone on my playlist for Monday. I have a Monday playlist that I use on Spotify. I do use Spotify to find out about things before obviously going away and buying them on Bandcamp as one should. But my Monday playlist is for I go away with work quite a lot. So for example, Monday morning I have a sort of 3 and a bit hour drive down to the work that I'm doing. So I like to set my playlist up in advance, as any sane person would, to listen to in the car. And that album, which I don't really know well, is on it. I might have to go back to Kim's solo album from last year, because I did listen to it. I thought it wasn't nearly as good as the Kim Gordon album, which I liked a lot, and was on my best albums of 2024 post that there's a link to on the website. But yeah, maybe I'll go back to that. Maybe I'll give that another go as well. Right, so we're going around the world now, and we're heading off to the east. A band that I do know, although I didn't know this album terribly well. I own Fetch by them, and I own 13,000 Miles at High Velocity, both of which are fabulous albums. They're not to everybody's taste. I have, on a few occasions been playing them and been asked by somebody, what the hell is that racket? Which is always a good sign, in my opinion. The band on Melt Banana. The album is Cellscape, which, having had a couple of listens to, and I will go back to it, Slightly longer songs than what I was used. Certainly longer than the 13,000 Miles album, which is just blast after blast after blast of minute-long noise, which I really really like. But anyway, why this one? Was it possibly for the excellent title that it has?
Shield for your eyes, a beast in the well on your hand. I had to write that down and read it because I love the song, but it's too long for me to remember the title. It's one of those songs where I have a very vivid recollection of hearing it for the first time, and it was when I was at university in Newcastle. That's another Newcastle connection there.
Okay.
And there's still lots of good record shops in Newcastle, but there were quite a few great ones then. There were two on the same street. There was one called RPM, which is still going, although it's moved slightly around the corner. And another one called Spin, I think it was. And I wandered into there one day. This was a shop that it did have like quite a lot of kind of like classic Led Zeppelin, Bob Dylan, or whatever in stock. But they did have a sticker in the window which said they were an official vendor of Frank Zappa CDs or something. So that was a good sign. And they sold The Wire and things. And I wandered in there one day, and they must have just started playing the album because this, was on. And I basically spent the whole album there pretending to browse and listening to it. And then I did buy the CD. But I'd been aware of Melt Banana probably from John Peel again, and he would play, 10 of their songs in a few minutes. But this, as you say, this is kind of them expanding their sound.
Yeah.
And it's this kind of like, I don't know, it's sort of space rock, psychedelia, effects laden, really long, weird intro that it's got, hasn't it? Before it kind of kicks in and it becomes a bit more recognisably Melt Banana. But they're not a band that I put on a lot at home, but I go to see them live whenever I can because, well, for one thing, the guitarist is just amazing. Like I don't know how he gets all these sounds out of his equipment, really.
Okay. All right, well, let's hear it. This is Melt Banana with a marvellously titled Shield for Your Eyes, a Beast in the Well on Your Hand. Milk Banana there. John Moore's Around the World choice on Steve's mixtapes. So we're going to your left of centre choice, and you have chosen a band that I really love. And I sort of obliquely referenced them before because you chose a song from Maggot Brain, and Maggot Brain itself is a great song, as you said. It's basically a 10-minute guitar solo. This band have done a almost half an hour long cover of it, which is absolutely fabulous. I would love to include it on these mixes, but it would drive everybody away. So the band are Bardo Pond, and this is from back in 1999. You're a big fan of Bardo Pond as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I try to plug them or write about them as often as I can, really, because I think they're phenomenal.
Yeah.
I can't remember where I was when I first heard this song, but I think it's one of the earliest Bardo Pond songs that I fell in love with. It's quite a good entry point, really, because it's even though it's in a left field category, it's relatively accessible, I think. Even though the guitar sounds like a jumbo jet, or a jumbo jet engine, I should say. I've spent, because I love them so much, I've spent years kind of really frustrated that they weren't like beloved by everybody,
yeah,
like on the planet. Or even like I would be like frustrated that they weren't as big as Godspeed You Black Emperor or Mogwai or bands like that they have played with. And I've come to the conclusion that it's because they're quite weird, aren't they?
They are quite weird. And I must confess, I downloaded these. I didn't pay for them because they're very hard to track down. But they've done a load of like CDR releases, haven't they? I can't remember what they're called now. There's something sessions or something. There's about 8 of them. Anyway, I couldn't find them to buy, so I downloaded them. But they're really, really good. Even if they do have a very sort of practice room, let's play this riff and see where it goes for the next 17 minutes sort of air to them. But yeah, really excellent. The sort of thing I like to work to.
I don't know what combination of distortion pedals they use, but they've managed to hit on an absolute.
I think they use all of them.
Yeah, it's this
anyway,
big wall of.
So let's hear them in action from the very, very good album Set and Setting. This is Bardo Pond with Again. Bardo Pond, John Moore's Left of Centre choice. And as I mentioned before, if you've never heard their cover of Maggot Brain, I will put a link to it on the website. Set yourself aside half an hour, pour yourself a glass of something strong, and just sit and let it wash over with you. It's absolutely marvellous. Right, on to your wild card choice. Now, this is a bit of a left turn. An artist, obviously, that I'm familiar with. I didn't know this song, and it wasn't really quite what I was expecting. But as soon as it started up, I thought, I know that sample from somewhere. And it only took me a little while to work out that it's Isaac Hayes from the album Hot Buttered Soul, which has two marvellous long songs at either end. I seem to remember, it's quite a while since I listened to it. There's a number of shorter ones in the middle that I'm not so fussed on, but there's two brilliant long songs either side, one of which is a cover of Walk On By, and that's the sample in this. So this is the Wu-Tang Clan. Why this one?
Why this one? I think it's all right. It's my second favourite Wu-Tang album. The W. Everyone's favourite Wu-Tang album is the first one, right? One of the reasons I wanted to get this in, apart from wanting to have, not just lots of white people playing electric guitars, I don't listen to loads of hip hop, but I do listen to lots of Wu-Tang Clan and their various solo albums and offshoots and affiliates and that kind of thing.
So why them in particular?
Why them in particular?
I should tell listeners that John is literally scratching his head.
Because they're really good.
Okay.
And there's lots of them. And, the production's great. Also, I mean, it is on the first album, but there's a book by Will Ashton called Chamber Music, which is it's sort of about the first Wu-Tang album, but it's also about so much more, and that is one of my favourite books about music that I've ever read, apart from yours, Steve, obviously. Have you ever read it, Will Ashton's Chamber Music?
No, I don't know that. I don't think. No. I'll have to dig that out and put a link to it and buy it.
It makes me frustrated that I'll never write a book as good as it. It's so clever. It's so clever. It's about everything that feeds into that first Wu-Tang album. But the chapters are really short. I don't know how he manages to write about so much in such a concise way. I can't figure it out. And I obviously I don't write like that because I go going on mad digressions all the way through and annoying Paul McCartney fans because I'm talking about things that aren't Paul McCartney. But anyway, linked to that book, and I won't say what happens in that book, but there's a bit in that book that if you read it, you'll make sense why I picked this track, because this track only has two members of the Wu-Tang Clan on it. So Ghostface Killer, who is my favourite member of Wu-Tang Clan, does the first bit of the track, and then the RZA does the second bit of the track. And if you read Will Ashton's book, you'll see why I chose that song.
The technique is ill, son. Watch how I spill one. Peace to Biggie, Tupac, Big L and Big Pun. Havoc on the streets of static. Snitches, house niggas, children watchers, they produce the same pattern. Somebody raped our women, murdered our babies, hit us with the cracks and guns in the early 80s. For those that murdered me shall stand before God, to fall at the hands of fate, then out comes the rod. Bring it back, bring it back, bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. What the fuck is going on? I can't go to sleep. Feds jumping out their jeeps, I can't go to sleep. Babies with flowers on their cheeks, it's hard to go to sleep. It's bold, 2 6s twice, I couldn't go to sleep. Hey yo, we deep in the stands, we carry can guns, Whippy got hit her with the big shit. Bung bung, that Master G was mine, then pass the league spot. Don't pass y'all niggas again, you took a cheap shot. Not knowing fucking with me, you get your meat out. You thought we fell in our face, you think the beef stopped? Call on the chariots, call on the ambulance. You better smile, my nigga, you want candy again. Gangsta bros, these bees, the laws walk with big balls. Nigga, motherfucker, if you that I didn't take was yours. I'm the nigga that made you, man. When your rap wasn't doing well, I'm the nigga that gave you a hand.
Learn to love each other. Don't get mad, 'cause it ain't that bad. Look who you are. You've come so far. It's in your head. Just be a man. Get the jelly out your spine. Hardware.
I can't go to sleep. I can't shut my eyes. They shot the father in his mom's building 7 times. They shot Malcolm in the chest, one of his little seeds. Jesse watched as they shot King on the balcony. Exported Marcus, God because he tried to spark us with the knowledge of ourselves and our forefathers. Oh, Jacqueline, she heard the rifle shots crackling, her husband head in the head. He tried to put it back in. America's watching, bloodstained ink blotches. Mega took one to the skull for integrating college. It's the science, somebody, this is trick knowledge. They try to keep us as slaves and still slave my dollars. Walking through park, you're drunk as a fuck, looking around like that was so ready to break this world down. They got me trapped up in the metal gate, just stressed out with hate, and this gives me no time to relax and keep my mind and meditate. What should I do? Grab a blunt or a brew? Grab a 2-2 and run out there and pick this fucking violence in you?
You should
I
be
can't
calling the shots
I can't shut up, son.
The Wu-Tang Clan with I Can't Go to Sleep from the 2000 album The W. And I will put a link to the chamber music book that John mentioned, and have to get myself a copy of that to read. But obviously, I'll have to finish your book about Paul McCartney first. So, which links me nicely into your finale song.
Yeah, I threw Bar Paul in, didn't I?
Yeah. So, now it's interesting. I say, reading your book, I'm about 40% of the way through, I would say. So obviously you've covered a lot of the stuff in the 80s with the, Lennon as the godlike genius and Paul as the, sad, sappy, writing the schmaltzy love songs guy. And that was what I grew up with. I just finished my first term at secondary school when John Lennon was shot. And I do remember actually that, all these gushing articles. And it was a little bit, there's a slight analogy with Princess Diana, in the sense that I remember there'd been some really quite negative reviews of the album that had just come out, Double Fantasy. I remember Smash Hits giving it like 2 out of 10 or something like that. And then all of a sudden you had all these, all this gushing stuff. And it was a little bit like that with Princess Diana, wasn't it? You had all the press saying, oh, she's a terrible mother, she does this, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden she was, God incarnate on Earth. So I did grow up with that.
I could have put that in the book. Didn't think of it. Damn.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but it was similar. And I remember liking a few John Lennon songs and being bought for one Christmas the greatest hits that must have been released in about, I don't know, 81, something like that. Very long. I had about 19 songs on it. So it was really tinny sounding because it was too long for the vinyl. I've been quite surprised by how many sort of dopey songs like Beautiful Sean and stuff like that were in. They were really quite saccharine.
Yeah,
and
the Yoko ones are the best on that Double Fantasy album, in my opinion.
Yeah. But on this greatest hits one, but even going back to some of the earlier stuff from the 70s, some of it is, but it's when he gets onto the, stuff about Sean and all the rest of it. It's all very, say, sugary and anyway. So, I grew up with this. So it was interesting to read that bit of your book about how maybe Britpop let Paul back into a more acceptable sort of status in the world, but he very sensibly kept his distance from it, though, didn't he?
Yeah. So that's kind of the thrust of the book, really, is that I'm trying to argue that the 90s are the most significant decade for him after the 1960s.
I was going to say, as you know, I did listen to Off the Ground and Flaming Pie in the car the other day. Off the Ground didn't do a lot for me. I will give another listen, but Flaming Pie, I enjoyed. I surprised myself by how much I enjoyed it, actually.
Yeah, that is a better album, but it's less useful as a book title.
Yes, hard to see really what your subtitle would have been to go with Flaming Pie. There we go. So, but anyway, your finale track you've gone for, with all of that, is very much a true Lennon and McCartney collaboration. This one, isn't it? John wrote either end, and Paul wrote the bit in the middle. So it is a very famous finale song. I did wonder whether Helter Skelter might appear somewhere in your list, as you do. Perhaps a little controversially claim that that's the moment at which Paul McCartney invented heavy music.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a finale song though, is it? Helter Skelter.
No.
It's
Well, I wonder whether it might pop up first.
yeah, I did consider it, but
Yeah.
I thought this is. I mean, A Day in the Life is my favourite Beatles song. If
Okay.
gun to my head,
It would be in
much-
my. I think it would be in my top 10. Helter Skelter's, I think, my number 3. I think my favourite Beatles song is a Paul song. It's For No One.
Oh yeah,
I love
yeah,
For No
good
One.
song.
And my second favourite, if this counts as a song, is the medley on the B side of Abbey Road.
Oh yeah,
I love that. I absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm counting that as a sort of 18-minute prog rock masterpiece. I absolutely love that. But there we go. But yeah, you can't argue with Day in the Life. I also about Day in the Life. It's one of my least favourite Fall covers. Many
yeah.
Fall really like it. I think they massacre it personally.
Yeah. It's no, I can't say I put that on very often.
No. No. It exposes Mr. Smith. He tries to sing it properly, which was a really foolish move on his part.
Were
want
they
a good
commissioned
Fall
to do
cover,
it or something? I can't remember the story about.
it was for Sergeant Pepper Knew My Father.
That's
the
right.
only charity thing.
Yes. Yeah.
If you want a good Fall cover, Monk's Higgledy Piggledy. That's the best one. That's an absolutely fabulous cover version. I'll put a link to that as well. Anyway, sorry. Back to your favourite Beatles song. So why? I mean, people have written millions of words about this song. What is it about it that resonates with you?
It's it's one of those tracks that whenever I hear it, its magic doesn't kind of fade. I like, I mean, you go along. You do get a sense of the different personalities of John and Paul, I suppose. I mean, I think the
meshing perfectly as well.
The dichotomy is probably more complicated than it is made out. But you've got John with this kind of quite melancholic, beautiful melody and interesting lyrics, and then you've got Paul's bit, which is a bit more sort of cheerful and bouncy and that kind of thing. But then you've got Paul kind of pushing the orchestration at the end and making the orchestra play like they're not comfortable with playing, and thus asserting himself as the experimental one, not John.
Yes, apparently I've sure read somewhere that the orchestra read what they were being asked to play and were left feeling rather quizzical.
Yeah,
because they were just given a note to get to and just get to it. However,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they were a bit kind of flummoxed by the whole thing. I think it's almost like a David Lynch film. I was listening to it earlier today, and the way it's like that film Lost Highway, where someone like suddenly turns into someone else. It's like that, but musically. Do you know what I mean? You got John and you got Paul, and it's kind of seamless, but also jarring in the same way. Good drum fills from Ringo as well.
Funny enough, I was just waiting for a little gap in what you were saying to say. I love Ringo's drumming on this song.
Yeah,
I think it's brilliant. He's
it's quite
he's
jazzy.
Far better drummer than most people give him credit for.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
there's a great video, and if I can dig it out, I'll put it on. But somebody did a video where they said the thing about Ringo Starr is I can play 15 of his drum beats, and you'll recognise the song with no vocals, guitar, or melody. And it was right. You can play I Feel Fine. There's loads of them you can play. Come Together is an obvious choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I couldn't think of another artist where you could just play the drum track and immediately recognise the song. So, that's remarkable. But yeah, Ringo's drumming on this is wonderfully understated.
Yeah, he often is understated. He's working for the benefit of the song. He's not working to show off how great a talent he is. It's the kind of little details there, isn't it? The little fills that he does, and there are loads of Beatles tracks that you could choose to kind of show the doubters how great he is.
Yeah. Is Sergeant Pepper your favourite?
It's a good question.
Well, I find it hard with the Beatles because there isn't really. Even the greater Beatles albums always seem to have. Well, they always have one or two that I find a little bit weaker.
That's the interesting thing, isn't it, about greatest band that ever was, in or so called. They don't really have that perfect album, do they?
No.
I mean, I love Revolver, and I don't object to Yellow Submarine, but it kind of sticks out a bit, doesn't it?
I always think that really, objectively, I should probably say that Revolver is the best album in a way, because it always seems like on paper it is, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
My heart has always belonged to Abbey Road, despite its flaws. I love Abbey Road.
I like the White Album, but I kind of like Disc 1 more than Disc 2.
Well, everybody has a one album version of it, don't they?
Yeah. And I like Sgt. Pepper's, but I can skip what's the George one of Within You Without You? Is that
the Indian one? Yeah,
there's a good Sonic Youth cover of that. Have you heard that?
Yes, I think I have. Yes.
Yeah, Abbey Road's pretty good.
Well, a lot of people don't like Maxwell Silver Hammer, but I quite like Maxwell Silver Hammer.
Yeah, I like Maxwell Silver Hammer. I think that's
it's chirpy but dark.
Yeah, the lyrics horrible. Yeah, Paul McCartney's the granny music one. He was like, he's also singing songs about this hammer wielding serial killer. So what's going on there?
And a lot of people don't like Oh Darling, but I love Paul's vocal on Oh Darling. I think it's fabulous.
Yeah.
So anyway, well, let's we'll hear from him in a minute. So we're going to hear A Day in the Life, a very famous finale song that John has gone for his finale of his mix. Before we hear that, though, just to say many thanks for coming on. It's been a real pleasure to actually, after many online communications, to actually talk to you face to face, even if it is via Zoom. So just to mention again, go out and buy John's books. Definitely go out and buy Electric Wizards because it's fabulous. And unless something dramatically bad happens with your Paul McCartney book, which I'm sure it won't, go out and buy Off the Ground Paul McCartney in the 90s as well. Both very, very enjoyable. And make sure you subscribe to the Quietus and read Columnfortably Numb, which is John's psych-rock column, which always gives me a good addition to the to-listen playlist once I've been through that as well. So yeah, it's been a real pleasure, John. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been great.
About a lucky man who made the grade. And though the news was rather sad, well, I just had to laugh. I saw the photograph. He blew his mind out in a car. Didn't notice that the lights had changed. A crowd of people stood and stared. They'd seen his face before. Nobody was really sure if he was from the House of Lords. I saw a film today, oh boy. The English army just won the war. A crowd of people turned away, but I just had to look, having read the book. I'd love to turn you I noticed I was late. Found my coat and grabbed my hat. Made the bus in seconds flat. Found my way upstairs and had a smoke. And somebody spoke and I went into a dream. I
A Day in the Life, the finale track from John Moore's. And many, many thanks to John, who was an excellent guest mixer. A little bit of a longer episode this week than we usually have, but to be honest, John and I could have gone on for 3 or 4 hours quite easily. So many thanks to him. And next week, my guest mixer is Sally Hamilton. So looking forward to that, and I'll see you in a week's time. Goodbye.